This week's message from the angels helps us to understand what many of you may have been experiencing as anxiety or confusion. There is a stretching going on. We are being stretched from our old expression of who we are into the new expression. We are in this sort of state of mitosis, or this bridge state between two aspects of ourself, or two instantiations of our soul in the same body. Super interesting message. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. For those of you who are new here, my name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel. And by that, I mean I go into a deep meditative state and I raise my awareness up as high as I can go, and I go a little higher, and I connect at the angelic realm, and I bring that healing and information through and share it here with you guys on YouTube. And this week's message is a doozy. It is a really unusual one, explaining the state where we are right now in our ascension as a bridge between where this 3D construct of reality and this new state of consciousness where we're going to. And the biggest mind bender of the whole thing is that they explain that we are within the same body, that what makes humanity different this time around is that we were born with two expressions of our soul in the same body. And one expression is intended to express along a timeline in this first part where we are within the 3D construct. And then as the earth shifts, the next expression starts to come through, the expression that is intended to exist in this new higher state of awareness. And the place that we are in right now is this in-between state. So, and they're saying this other self is also us. They've been here all along. It's a little bit like us looking back in time to your 5-year-old self, right? It's a little bit like when you go back and you work with an old self and you heal yourself at 5 years old, except this version of us is with us all the time. So super interesting message. Before I do, oh my gosh, okay, I have to connect this to tell you, but I've been saying I'm going to do more travel this year, and I'm going to go out to different cities. I have 2 of them ready to go. 2 of them, I have everything signed, everything ready to go. So I am officially right now announcing, which is super exciting. It's just because it's just taken so much work. I had no idea. It's a learning process. We're always being stretched. But I'm going to be in New York and in Denver, and I have more cities coming. It's looking like it's going to be Los Angeles, Austin, New York, Denver, and and Phoenix, and Scottsdale. Yeah, so those, and then Seattle. So I'm going to do these one-day events, and I have everything ready. So if you are in New York or near New York, if you are in or near Denver and want to join me, the dates for Denver are June 3rd. The date for New York is September 30th, and I'm going to go ahead and put in, after the live, I'll put the link in where you guys can sign up. And so I'd love it if you can join me. It's going to be a really different format from what when I do the retreats. You guys know when I do the retreats at Mosswood Hollow locally, or I'm going to be doing some others this year. The retreats are longer. They're usually 3 days. The one in Australia that I want to do this year is 5 days. And in those, I'm in trance the whole time. And they're very intense healing container. And they're amazing, and I love them. Like, I cannot wait, because you just never know what's going to come through. But these, I've been guided to do them differently. These one days are going to be it's going to be a Q&A format with hot seat healing. So when I do my sessions for the Golden Circle, I always start the session where I go in and I do clairvoyant, clairsentient, claircognizant channeling. And I do a lot of healing from that place. So I'm able to move and work with energy from that place. And it's one of my favorite ways to work. And so these one-day sessions are going to be like that, where we're going to be working through things as a group and doing some spot healings, working through group healings, and having that sort of Q&A session so that it can be tailored to what is needed by you at the time. So anyway, so that's going to be the format, something different from what happens in the retreats. And I'm really excited for it. So anyways, the details will be on the webpage, and I will have it, I'll link to it after our conversation here, so you guys can check it out. But yeah, I am very excited. I had a dream about doing these one-day events a long time ago, they were basically saying, here's the next thing that we want you to do. The next are always, they never let you sit, never let you sit and relax. They're like, okay, you got this down. Now here's the next thing. And in the dream, I'm walking, I was walking along it's not a riverbed. It was like an aqueduct, and I could see across on the other side. And it was at Seaport Village, which is a great name. So it's all about spirit, it's sea, it's ocean, water, all of that. I see across the way on the other side, I see these people walking, and they're amazing. They're wearing these white costumes, and they're just floating, and they're on stilts, and they have stilts on their hands and their legs, and they're walking, and they're floating, right? And I'm watching, they're beautiful and graceful as they're going by, and I'm like, wow, like I would love to be like that. Like, look how they are. And I'm walking down along the riverbed, and I see a store. And I realized this is the store where those people got their outfits. So I'm just hoping that maybe there's one for me. And I go in, and right in the front, there's one left. And it's not as big or amazing as those, but it's like one that would fit me now. It's one that is like, but it is the same color and the same fabric. And I see it, and I think, oh my gosh, like, I wonder if that's for me. And I'm hoping. And then there's the salesperson. And he's in like a cash register booth, but it's way up high, which means he's my guide. And I'm hoping that he's going to tell me that dress is for me. But instead, he starts handing me pamphlets for hosting an event. He's handing me all these pamphlets showing me how I can host an event at this venue. And I'm really disappointed, But then as I'm walking out, I recognize that this is actually a really great place for a venue. So the method, or the message of the dream was telling me that if I want to get to that place, then what they want me to do is host these one-day events, that this is my way of growing into the next aspect of who I'm meant to be. So anyways, all of it's very, very guided, and I'm super excited. I'm super excited to have all of us be really stretching ourselves on our journey and helping one another to get there. And speaking of stretching, that is the message for today. So the message of the day is about how we are being stretched. All right, so here's what they say. They say, we speak to you now of something on the horizon, the next instance of your awakening. The sense of yourselves is beginning to merge and blend. You are not harming yourself in your betrothal to others in the sense of what you are merging. This is as it should be and always was. It is the sense of what you are as one being. This welcome reprise of what was always yours from the beginning is something coming on slowly, gently. Once happening, however, it becomes a thought that is pervasive, that is welcomed in, that is heralding a change in humankind. You are the starting ones, the gentle souls who welcome in the next beginning. The sense of what you are is transforming as not what it once was. The sense of yourself has always been bound to the time and place where you are. In heralding in this shift in vibration, you are an instantiation of the human condition that is not lasting. That is now permeated by a new breeze, a new sensation, something for which you have been longing. And we say the time is now for the reformation of your thoughts, for this welcoming. You have within yourself a counterpart, an also being, another one like yourself who is also come, who is harboring within themselves the knowledge of what once was, who has within their hearts a longing to rejoin into a collective unity, and they are like yourself in many ways. Their calibration of frequency also remains tied to your own. They have within their hearts all the memories and situations in which you have been living. But they are different from what you are. They are also yourselves, but something different. They harbor within them in this instantiation a sense of what you are beyond this realm. They carry the tie to that secondary realm of dreaming and have within their hearts also a link to what you are becoming. They carry the bridge between the layers of your awareness and trespass now and then into your calculated thoughts. You are aware of them subconsciously. Is it the subconscious, you are wondering? We say no, it is not. It is an also self that you are harboring. It is not that self that is merely present in your dormant hours. It is not that self who merely rises in your sleeping. It is that self who also came, who presents themselves now that you are rising, who sees within what you are a template for what you may become, who senses that you are within a realm within which much is transpiring, and can project themselves into your knowledge. They are also what you are. You are many selves, many of whom you have already encountered, past selves, permanent membranes within the focus of this body. There's also the layers of awareness which you have acknowledged. This aspect of what you are is held on not so tightly. It is adjunct and accessory, outside of and yet within, a counterpart and yet also what you are and have been. It is as though the self resides dimensionally in two places at once. This also what you are is harming none by their desire to take part in the reprisal of your role as one instantiation of awareness. They are also ready to rise into the unconquerable state of unity with one another. But they are ones who have risen before now, who have reprised this state already, who can speak into you now how it is done. What is the template for this? How it may transpire within your own housing. They have done this. Now you take part. They are one who is yourself who has already risen, who now resides now, but who resides now where you are, who can lean into your own body and take hold of those thoughts which would limit, and let you release into their fold for your own benefit. They are those selves among you who stand next nation, fully embodied themselves. Yes, a part of what you are, and yet separated. It is a concept that is different from what you've known, but it is present. It is part of this awakening. It is as though you are two blending at once, merging into the plane of awareness which you are beckoning in. It is that self who is projected forward into the next now, that self that you are who has already heralded this next time coming. And through their awareness, reach back to where you are. And though you have fought with their presence, though you have lingered longer in the state of unawareness than is called for by their estimation, they are now with you, reaching back through time as a consequence of your believing into the state of what you are to lift you forward into their present. They have within them the full template of your next coming. They know what you are through and through, for they are yourself in this next instantiation, the yet to begin. And in this time of lucid reformation, there is between you, yes, the bridge of thought, of effort, of aspiration, of grace. Limitless, boundaryless, you may express what you are between states, between this now and that, between this haven and that. There is no such called environment with which you are familiar, and yet it occurs now as you are living. This in-between state into which you are torn asunder, made to believe you are separated from what was, when in fact this is just an entrance, and the you that was has heralded in the next yourself, which is just beginning. Thus, in two places at once, you straddle. You stand apart and yet together, one next to another in the same place at once. Bridged between you is the harmony of concurrence. And the more that you align with what is becoming, the less of you remains in this instantiation. The more of you is merged into that place and sense and feeling of this next becoming. It is not a place for you to journey. It is not a place you must rise to. It is a merging into what is becoming, leaving behind what was. The bridge between you is firm, is strong. You may straddle and then merge. You may stay here, torn apart, asunder, as long as you wish. You may stand between you and you. You are able. But this time period is not forever. To lean forward into the new now welcomes you in. To know that by our perception, you are here already. We see you now as you will be, fully formed and capable. We see what you are achieving. It is not far, dears. Welcome this transition. Know you are bent, blurred in your vision. Confusion may rise. A sense of yourself as lost among your thoughts and wishes. A merging, a diverging, a sense of separation. A sense of loss even, though temporary. To know you are in the process of blending from what you were to what you are becoming. That two of you are involved. For these two environments you are projected onto, in this moment, this time, you are forming in between what was and what is. And you are assuming what comes, taking on the formation, what is calling you forward. In this blending time, release yourself from thoughts of harmful separating. Release the thought that you must bend yourself somehow to achieve what is coming. Know that you are capable already, that you are there, that you are waiting. It is merely the time it takes for you to acknowledge that this has already happened. Yeah, right? I know it's a mind bender, and I'm glad I had some time to think about it, because this is, it is a surprising, unexpected message, right? You're saying fascinating. You're saying I absolutely feel that. Yeah, there were some pieces in here I think that we can really relate to. And Teresa's saying, we are all born this way, so all have the same opportunity. Yes, that's exactly what they're saying. So my understanding is that coming to earth to be alive at this time, that we were born differently, that in the past we were born with this one, body, this one instantiation of our soul, one expression of our soul, which was expressed into a 3D reality. But we knew by being here that we were going to be going through this transition. So we brought along a buddy. We brought along, version 2.0 of ourselves. And that version 2.0 is in here and has been holding back and waiting. And I think the way that the waiting happens is that we are aided by the expression of time. So as time expresses and as we move forward, it's like the first self, who is that 3D reality, is the one that's expressing. And then as we move through time, we get to the place where eventually we are here now as we're going through our ascension, and that second self starts to push forward, right? Starts to express. And as it does, we are right now caught in this in-between state. So it really brings to mind, so many people have been talking about right now that they've been going through incredible anxiety and trauma in their lives, or stress in their lives, or feelings of confusion, like they don't know where it's coming from. Anxiety is what a lot of people are talking about. And I think that is this state of being in between. They said it in here, and we can get to that when we get there. I'll point it out. But I think this is why they're telling us. They're telling us that we are currently in a state of moving. And I think this is why they're saying, why has this never been done before? Why is this unique? Why is it unusual for a species to evolve while incarnated? And that's what we've been hearing. Oh yeah, it's really different. Like all of the universe is watching us, because people don't usually, switch levels of consciousness in this way while embodied. I think this is it. I think this is what they're talking about. I think they are saying that we brought along two in one, right? Two versions of ourselves in one body, and that they were meant to express sequentially. So first is the 3D version, and then coming is our new level of frequency, our new level of consciousness. But the transition is an instant. It doesn't happen that way. It happens so we are in the bridge state right now. That's what they said in the past message. They said we are being stretched, right? They keep saying we're literally being think about cell mitosis. When you see us there, you got one cell, and then that cell slowly stretches apart, and then bing, you got two cells. And we are in that, where we are slowly being stretched. And they're separating the old self from the new self. And we're going to leave the old self behind, and it will become our history, and we will be the new self, right? Just super wild and cool. Super wild and cool. You're saying, yes, huge anxiety. Yeah, so many people have been saying that. And you're saying, I was thinking, how do we move forward instead of staying on the bridge? Yeah. And they give us some help with that, which is great. So we'll go through the message paragraph by paragraph. And you're saying, it is now the right time of day within the cosmic clock. Exactly. You're saying, I have been considering my past self and how different I am now. This may be part of it. Yes, 100%. You're saying anxiety and tiredness. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Right. Super unusual. And you're saying, I have been so cognizant of this process for a while now. Yeah. So, and they talk about it as a lucid transformation, right? That we are aware. The point is that this is meant to be something that we are aware of and we're growing through. So yeah, so it is a really unusual message and also sheds so much light on so many things they said in the past. Like how many times have they told us they see us in this new state of awareness already? They've said that a gazillion times, that they see us, they see that it's already been done, that we're already there. And that's because there is this other self inside of us who is already there, right? So there's two of us, and time doesn't really exist, it's here for us. So that other self is a full conscious being, and they are inside of us. Wow. And they are us. They're us too. So it's kind of a mind bender, but let's go through it and that will help. Okay. And that's a great question. So you're asking, okay, can the emergence of the new self feel like a walk-in? And I do not believe so, luckily. I don't think it's going to be a thing where like all of a sudden we feel like we are not here or we are a new person moving in. And I'll show that as we're going through the message, because I had that same question. I'm like, wow, is it going to be like somebody else is taking over our bodies? And I don't believe that's the case. So I'll show you why I think that as we get closer. And you're also asking, my questions are, if the loved ones are not catching up, are they left behind? My understanding is that in this transition, that the goal is for us to be in a higher state of awareness, higher state of consciousness, and to be holding love, and to be in that state of open-heartedness, right? That's the goal. And that in this process, that there will be loss of life. There will be some people who have come in knowing they were going to leave the planet at this time. And if they are not holding that higher frequency, that may be what they choose to do. They may say that they want to stay in the karmic path and go somewhere else. However, not everybody who is making that choice is going to leave. That there are people who will live out the rest of their life here and stay in their 3D karmic construct. And the difference is that they just won't be able to reincarnate here. If they want to stay in that 3D construct, they won't be able to come back here because this will no longer be a 3D place. The way I think about it is that the earth is trying to heal itself, trying to heal in the same way that we try to heal ourselves, that we try to purge our limiting beliefs and our limiting thoughts, right? And when we do that, we have to take those thoughts and literally like energetically pull them out and release them, right? That's what we do when we heal ourselves. And the earth is trying to heal, and we are the neurons of the earth. So each one of us is like a thought that the earth is having. And so right now the earth has too many negative thoughts. And so something's got to change. And we can change that by becoming a happier thought for the earth. Like we can raise our frequency, and that helps the earth to raise. But if we don't do that, if there's too many of us that are walking around with really negative thoughts, some of those thoughts got to leave, right? And that is just how healing works, right? Something has to shift. It has to be a change. And we are the thoughts of the earth. So, and some of those thoughts are too negative for her to be able to raise her frequency. So she has to heal. But like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that like I said, a person can still be here and live out their life. The big shift is going to be happening over a longer period of time. And it does mean that they would no longer be able to incarnate into this world. Yeah, I hope that helps. And you're saying, what about significant other? Is it possible to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't have the spiritual awareness I have, or am I here to help wake him up? He woke me up 5 years ago. Now he seems to be falling back asleep. So I'm confused, not sure if I should stay or leave. I'm afraid to fall back asleep if I stay. Wow, that is really, really tough, because I know we do, you love who you love, right? And sometimes the people we love are not on the same path. And it could be a thing where he shifts, like he did help you to wake up before. Like that could be a thing where he's going through something right now. And that maybe he will turn a corner and choose to come with you. If he doesn't, there's going to be a very individual path in terms of what people choose to do going forward. And so it's going to be a higher self choice. Is it and in many cases, people who choose to be among the ones who are leaving during this process, that choice would have been made a long time ago. They would have been made before they came here. We all choose how we're going to go before we come here. And we have free will. We can always say, yeah, I'm pulling the ripcord, I'm out now, right? We always have that ability. But there's a plan in place and a plan for our exit. And then anybody who does exit during this time period, their process of crossing over is not going to be the way that it was. It will be different. It'll be like they are up in the bleachers, hanging out, watching all of this unfold. And they're going to be collected very deliberately by the angels and brought. Like no one, they keep saying no one is left behind. Everyone is considered. So it's very compassionate to humanity. There's no right or wrong in this. It's merely a process of trying to determine what is best for every single soul. And we may find that there are some people we love that don't need the same things that we need. And that's hard. But it is not necessarily, it doesn't mean that we're going to lose the people that we love. It just means that they won't be coming back here if they are not moving up in terms of their frequency. So it may be something that you just end up living in a state where you're with somebody and you have to find a way of being in that space with another person and not letting it lower your own frequency. And I think that probably is really the root of your question. How do you stay with somebody who is at a lower frequency and get away from our human tendency to try to connect with another person by lowering our frequency? Because that's something we do. You know what I mean? We reach for that person, and we do it. We usually reach through our wounding. We try to find some place of compatibility. And the angels did give us a message about this not long ago, where they said, okay, we could no longer afford to connect through our wounding, that we have to connect through love, that we have to do our best to stay in our frequency and to not lower our frequency to connect just through love. And I can find that message. If one of you remember which one it was, maybe you can put in the link or mention it. But it is a really helpful message about how to do that. How do we be among others who are not choosing at this time to shift? And no judgment in that at all. It's just merely what's best for that soul. But how do we be with that person and not lose our own footing if our choice is to move up? Yeah. And there is, like I said, a whole other message about that. And if one of you know it, put it in the chat. Otherwise, I will find it and put in the link later. All right. And Mary's saying, very interesting. How about the earth is healing through positive thought? I love that. Yes, that's exactly right. Love it, Martha. Totally. And you're saying if we are not with she, you mean earth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Brandy's saying, I'm correct in feeling that we will not have to lay these bodies down if we ascend. Correct. Yeah. My understanding is that these are the bodies that are going to carry us through our entire journey on this earth. So in the future, our bodies, and even now, our bodies are lighter, but we're not in like light bodies yet. But as humans evolve over time, we may become more like light bodies. But in our incarnation, this body is our vehicle of choice. So we're staying in this body, but we will be different inside our bodies. Yeah. Super cool, huh? All right, you guys. So let's break it down paragraph by paragraph and see what they say. They say, we speak to you now of something on the horizon, the next instance of your awakening. The sense of yourselves is beginning to merge and blend. So this is that two selves in one beginning to merge and blend. You are not harming yourself in your betrothal to others in the sense of what you are merging. So, okay, so they're saying there's two things going on here. There is the merging of us with the rest of humanity, right? They're saying, and our betrothal to others. They mean that if the number one goal is for us to blend these two selves within ourself, the 3D self and this higher frequency self, if that's our primary goal, we are not harming that goal by also focusing on connecting to the collective and becoming one. The sense of oneness is which is what we've been talking a lot about. They're saying those two things can happen at the same time. So first they say the sense of yourselves, your personal self, is beginning to blend and merge. So the self of your 3D reality and your future self of this higher frequency is beginning to blend and merge. But we know that you are also working on becoming one with the collective, getting that sense of oneness. So they're saying you're not harming this first mission by focusing on the second one. They're saying this is as it should be and always was. That being one is as it should be and always was. It is the sense of what you are, what humanity is, as one being. We this welcome reprise of what was always yours from the beginning is something coming on slowly, gently. And a reprise, word of the day, means repeated, and what I love about this word is it's a repeated, something we've done before, but it is also a word used to refer to a passage of music that you hear more than one time. And I love that they use that because they often refer to the expression of our soul as a song, right? So it is a welcome passage of music, a passage of our soul, right? This welcome reprise, the song of humanity, right? With what was always yours from the beginning. So our soul song, the soul of humanity, the song of humanity, which always was ours from the beginning, is something coming on slowly, gently. Once happening, however, it becomes a thought that is pervasive, that is welcomed in, that is so pervasive, it means it's shared among all of us. So everybody will be tapping into this sense of collective unity that is welcomed in, that is heralding a change in humankind. You are the starting ones, the gentle souls who welcome in the next beginning. So, and they've been telling us that by holding these frequencies, by becoming focused on doing this, having our awareness focused on this, we are starting to lead the pathway in to holding this new energy. And it is a shift that has to happen. Like somebody's got to step up first, and it's us, right? It is those of you who are interested, who are learning, who are caring, who are focused on your own healing, right? It because it is a transition of awareness, you have to be aware. That's kind of the point. So they're speaking to those who are aware and helping us to have the information we need so that we can take these steps to help the rest of humanity come along. And as I said in our last message, to be the lighthouse, right? To be that lighthouse. All right, next paragraph, they say, the sense of what you are is transforming as not what once was. In the sense of what you are. So they're talking about our inner reality, right? These two selves that we're harboring. The sense of the sense of yourself has always been bound to the time and place where you are. So we've always been stuck in in time. So they're talking about time. They're talking about place. So 3D in this linear time. So we've always been, as we are until now, locked in the expression of this self, right? This first self that we came with. In heralding in this shift in vibration, you are an instantiation of the human condition that is not lasting. So that right there is like a mind bender. So an instantiation is like an instance or an example of our soul. So in heralding in this shift in vibration, so with this this changing, coming change in consciousness, the instantiation of our soul that we are currently familiar with, our 3D self, is not lasting. And so they're saying that as we've known ourselves, they're implying that there's more than one of us in here. This piece of us, this limited self, has a shelf life. It has an expiration date. And it doesn't mean to say and they say this later in the passage, they say that we can stay in this spot as long as we want, that we can, if somebody can live out their whole life and not make the change. But the plan is for this higher vibration self to step through and to start to express. All right. That is now permeated. So the self that we are is now permeated by a new breeze, a new sensation, something for which you have been longing. And we say the time is now for the reformation of your thoughts, for this welcoming. And so I love that they specifically specify that we have been longing for this, that it's welcome. So this is not something to be feared or to fear a loss of, like the ego is always in there to say, wait a minute, what about me? And I am this body and I am my personality. I am all these things. And they say through this that your personality, your memories, that everything, that this other self is you, that it is you in every way. It's your memories. It's your whole life experience is there. It's literally like playing with the timeline. That it is in the same way that if you've ever done a healing where you are your current self and you go back and you see yourself in your childhood. And in your mind's eye, as you're doing that, you are seeing yourself. You're in two places. You're in one place at the same time. Two of you are sharing one space. There might be that 5-year-old you and current day you, right? And you, in your mind, are going back through the timeline and you have all the knowledge that you've gained up until this point as part of you, but you are also that 5-year-old self. That 5-year-old is in there too. So you know the 5-year-old, but you also have all the experience that you've gained since then. So this is going to be very much like that except that it's a dramatic shift in our vibration. So the only difference between this and that is that when we go back and visit our 5-year-old self, we are still living in the same basic construct, the 3D karmic construct. Our future self, when they travel back through time, through their awareness, through their memory, as we would call it, and they visit us in our current body, they are holding the higher frequency. And so that is what this is like. And so I think because of that dramatic shift from one to the other, it wasn't sufficient for us to come in with just this one expression of our soul. We had to have both expressions. We had to have the now expression and the future expression. And the future expression can only express as we reach that important change in the timeline as we ascend. Does that make sense? So it's not like we're being taken over, no more than you are taking over your 5-year-old self, because that 5-year-old self is in you, is a part of you. And we are a part of our future selves, right? But our future self, in the same way that you can go back and speak to your 5-year-old self and help to heal your 5-year-old self, our future self can come back and help us heal. But they are different from us. They're us, but they are different because of this dramatic shift that's happening, right? Really, really interesting. And you're saying it's merely an upgrade from who you were to that self you were meant to be. Yes, it is. Yeah. And you're saying as one whole being, not many groups of one as we are now. Yeah, that is the oneness that we're moving to. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right. So next paragraph. They say, you have within yourself a counterpart. Oh, wait, sorry, I didn't read the last of this paragraph. They say, you are an instantiation of the human condition that is not lasting, that is now permeated by a new breeze, new sensation, something for which you have been longing. And we say the time is now for the reformation of your thoughts for this welcoming. So it really is, we have to be thinking. This is an awareness. And yes, it's heart driven. Everything is led by the heart, but our awareness and our learning is important. And they've been talking about that too. All right, next paragraph. You have within yourself a counterpart, an also being, another one like yourself who is also come, who is harboring within themselves the knowledge of what once was. So this is that part where they're saying, okay, you are two expressions of your soul in one body. All right, so you have this other self in there who has within their hearts a longing to rejoin into a collective unity. So they also are focused on on this experience of oneness, of the collective. They say they are like yourself in many ways. Their calibration of frequency also remains tied to your own. So basically their soul song is your soul song, right? They have within their hearts all the memories and situations in which you have been living. So they are, it's in the same way that you have all the memories of your 5-year-old self up to that point. They have all the memories that you have. So they are you, right? It's basically saying they have your full experience. They are you. But they are different from what you are. They are also yourselves, but something different. So now they're going to go into why it's different. They harbor within them in this instantiation a sense of what you are beyond this realm. So this is really the big difference, is that in the same way that imagine that there was two selves, one that was conditioned to live on land and one that was conditioned to live in water, right? The one had gills and fins and stuff like that. And it would still be you, but it's conditioned to live in water. And it's going to have a very different experience of living than the you that's conditioned to live on land. And that's what this is going to be like, is like we have our 3D self that's conditioned to living in this experience. And then we're going to have our higher vibration self that's conditioned to living in a very different circumstance. All right, and they say they carry the tie to that secondary realm of dreaming and have within their hearts also a link to what you are becoming. So they're kind of saying they're trying to get clearer in terms of us understanding what this is. They're saying they carry the bridge between the layers of your awareness and trespass now and then into your calculated thoughts. You are aware of them subconsciously. So it's like they're in there and we can be slightly aware of them in the way that you might sometimes have glimpses of your future. Right? Maybe you have hints or intuitions about your own future. And that would be sort of a subconscious awareness of this other being that's with you. And they carry the bridge between the layers of awareness. So they have a greater understanding of you because they have been you, but they are the future you who has learned, who has gotten, they're the bionic you, right? The better you. So, all right. And then they go on next paragraph. Is it the subconscious you are wondering? We say, no, it is not. Because it would lead you to think that this is just a subconscious, that's kind of coming up. And they're saying, nope, it's not that. We say, no, it is not. It is an also self that you are harboring. It is not that self that is merely present in your dormant hours. It is not that self who merely rises in your sleeping. It is that self who also came, who presents themselves now that you are rising, who sees within what you are a template for what you may become. So this is a thing, who presents themselves now. So there is a time aspect to this. So it literally is like the time has come, and the timeline, as we are getting through this, the 3D self is now expiring, and the higher version is now presenting. Who sees within which you are a template for what you may become. So they know all the ways in which to bridge from what we are to what we are becoming. And that's, I think, the real key of this message. Is the point of this is that this other self is here to help us through this transition. That it isn't a thing that we have to worry about missing out on, that we have to worry that we don't know how to do, that there's some key or code or something that we need that we're gonna have to figure out. And they're saying, nope, because it was always with us from birth. That we have always known it because it's always been inside of us, that we brought it with us from the beginning. And that's, I think, the real point of this message, is to say that this, and they refer to it later, that there isn't some way that we have to bend ourselves or reach, that it is emerging, that it is literally just an allowing that we have to do. And that I find to be really, really comforting. Yeah. So they seize within what we are a template for what we may become, who senses that you are within a realm within which much is transpiring and can project themselves into your knowledge. They are also what you are. So in other words, they come forward because we are going through the turmoil. This is what signifies, this is the time for them to start stepping forward as we are challenged, as we are experiencing what people are going through, their anxiety, all the things that are happening right now. That is a trigger to help these other selves start to step through, right? And they can project themselves into our knowledge. So they are here to tell us, to show us, to help us feel our way into our own ascension. All right, so you are many selves, many of whom you have already encountered, past selves, which are permanent membranes within the focus of this body. There's also the layers of awareness which you have acknowledged. So here they're talking about like trying to help us separate what this is from what it isn't. And they're saying this is not like a past self, and they're saying permanent membranes within the focus of the body. So you've had past lives that you deliberately brought into this body so that you could work through those issues. And those are calling permanent membranes within the focus of this body. So the body was built to help you deal with those past life issues, right? So they're saying those are permanent membranes in the focus, which is like, what is this body focused on? I think it's just such an interesting little tidbit. So I had to call attention to that. So there's also the layers of awareness, which you have acknowledged. That is the subconscious level, right? These different states of being, states of awareness that we have, which we are aware of. All right, next paragraph. They say this aspect of which you are, so this other being that is inside of us, is held on not so tightly. So it's not, in other words, it's not as intrinsic to who we are right now as our subconscious or our dream life or all these other things, as our past selves that are really more meant to be working through. So saying this other self is not held on quite so tightly. It's not inside of us in the same way. They're saying it is adjunct, an accessory, outside of and yet within, a counterpart and yet also what you are and have been. It is as though the self resides dimensionally in two places at once. So there it is. That's the idea of you going back to visit your 5-year-old self. When you go back and in your mind's eye, see yourself talking to your 5-year-old self, you're not the 5-year-old self. You're not both people at once. You are the same person, but you can see the 5-year-old self and they can see you, right? So it is like you're in two dimensions at once. There's you expressed in two different periods of the same timeline. And that's kind of what's going on. Right. So it's like, how do you straddle two dimensions in one body? And so that's really the big thing, is we're looking at this state of consciousness. It's like we have two dimensions is the best, I think, framework we have to understand it, even though I don't know that it's two dimensions, but I'm just going to call it that so that we have a way of talking about it. That if we imagine that this body has to travel from one dimension to the other, and it has to carry us all the way through. So how do you do that with one body? And that's what makes this life so different. That's why this is being watched by everyone out there, because in order to do it, we had to bring in two versions of ourselves, right? We had to be the one that's good for this dimension and the one that's good for the next dimension. And then we switch over in the middle. Yeah, totally crazy, huh? And you're saying, I was always a merman. Oh, I love that. Don't you love that? Yeah. It's crazy. Our past lives are so fun to explore. And you're saying, let's see here. I recently had a dream. I am to go back to be as my child self. I actually have been taking myself back, remembering no judgment, innocence, and curiosity. I feel this is pretty much the same with more awareness. That is fantastic, Teresa. And yeah, that can be so incredibly healing. And you're saying, Donna's saying it gives who knew, meaning to been there, done that, no fear. That, yeah, totally. That's the idea, is that we're supposed to have no fear, because even though we don't know what we're heading into, there's a part of us that already knows. Yeah. And you said, man, I have so many questions. Yep, dimensions. And Brandy is saying, I have had glimpses of timelessness and otherness. I didn't understand at those times until my awakening. Yeah. Very cool, you guys. All right, so the next paragraph, they say, this also what you are is harming none by their desire to take part in the reprisal of your role as one instantiation of awareness. They're saying it's perfectly great that we are focused on this blending, merging within us at the same time that we are focusing on merging with the collective, with the one consciousness of humanity. They're saying they are also ready to rise into the unconquerable state of unity with one another. And they keep calling it that, and I love that. The unconquerable state of unity. It really implies that once we get to that state of oneness, that we are no longer bound by our karma. We don't have the self-doubt. All the negative self-talk is gone, right? We are unconquerable when we get to that state. We are ourselves fully expressed, right? Love that. All right, they go on to say, but they are ones who have risen before now, who have reprised that state already, who can speak into now how it is done. What is the template for this? How may it transpire within your own housing? They have done this. Now you take part. So who better to give us advice than ourselves, right? Who better to know exactly how this shift is going to affect you than the future you who's already done it, who knows your life, your circumstances, your memories, your trauma, right? And can speak into that. So that's why I think this is so critical in terms of making this, that we don't have to bend ourselves or dramatically, go through some experience of trauma to reach this higher state of consciousness. We are born with it. We are gifted it before coming. So it is like a cheat sheet, right? It is literally like getting the cliff notes to awakening, that we are born with success already built in. Like, how cool is that? They gave us the map. We never get the map. We always joke about that. I always joke like, have a baby. It doesn't come with an instruction booklet. You know what I mean? Like there's no map. There's no plan for life. You just got to stumble through it. Well, we were born with a path, right? We were born with a cheat sheet of awakening, and it is our next self is already inside of us. Wow, you guys, like that is so cool. Right? We don't have to wait till we get there. We are carrying them all this time, and they are here to speak into. And they already said that they have the ability that as we are going through this stretching process, they start to speak into our awareness. And they are going to guide us in the same way that we can go back and help our 5-year-old self. The difference is when we go back through time in our awareness and our memory, when we deliberately take a moment to go back and try to heal our younger self, we do that for like 10 minutes, right? Well, I'll take 10 minutes, I'll do this healing, and I'm going to go back and have this conversation with my 5-year-old self. And that's awesome when we do it. But it's 5 minutes, right? It's 10 minutes. This is constant. This is a constant state of being where we're getting that guidance through and through 100% continually through this period of being stretched, right? So that's the difference. That's why it's different from just a healing. It is a constant state of connection to this higher state where we've already done it. So that's huge. It really is. It's hard to wrap our heads around, I think, but it's really amazing. And you're saying, let's see, I no longer fear myself. Beautiful. And And then you're saying, Martha's saying, so are we going to get to our future selves in this lifetime? That's the goal. That's it. And then we all have the potential. We're all carrying this other, everyone who's meant to stay, everyone who's meant to be here through this awakening has this other self in there. And probably everybody does, in case they change their mind, right? That we always have the option of choosing to stay, of choosing to raise our frequency, of choosing to move into this next awareness. So yeah, and so the idea would be that it would be, as long as we're, living, absolutely. And you're saying that is so comforting. You're saying, I no longer create war within the self. Yeah, that's the goal, is no more war within ourselves, where we all of a sudden are just aligned with who we really are. And you're saying, like how Cinderella transformed, sound dorky, but I have had that visual. Oh, I love that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we move into the higher frequency of us, but it's still us. We just do that little Cinderella twirl. we become better dressed. All right. So, okay. So where are we? Here we go. So how does it transpire within your own housing? So they have done this. Now you take part. They are one who is yourself, who has already risen, but who resides now where you are. So this is the difference, right? So they have already done it and they reside now with us. So they're in the body with us, but they've already done it. So it's this weird little time bending thing that is happening. Who can lean into your own body and take hold of those thoughts which would limit and let you release into their fold for your own benefit. So it is like a constant healing aid that during this period, as they start to move forward, they are helping us to release the limiting thoughts, anything that would prevent us from being able to make this switch, to make this change. All right, so then they go on to say, they are those selves among you who stand next nation, fully embodied themselves. So by next nation, I think the reason they use the word nation is because nations are sovereign, nations are separated, right? They have borders, they have boundaries, and they're fully embodied themselves. So in other words, this is not a layer of you. This is not your subconscious. This is not like your past self. This is not a layer in your body. This is another full self. So that's what makes it so different. They say, yes, a part of what you are and yet separated. It is a concept that is different from what you've known, but it is present. It is a part of this awakening. It is as though you are two blending at once, merging into the plane of awareness which you are beckoning in. It is that self who is projected forward into the next now. That self you are who has already heralded this next time coming. So it is that idea of that future self coming back to heal us, but not coming back for a minute, coming back permanently, right? And being with us in a state of awareness which would be impossible for us to maintain in our daily life. So that's why I think it was so important for it to be an actual second version that we brought with us. Yeah. All right. And through their awareness, because we're always being told we're supposed to be aware in the present, right? We're supposed to be aware of the nowness. So we can't do that and also be constantly healing our past self. Yeah. All right. So, and through their awareness, reach back to where you are. So that is it, right? That self who you are, who was already heralded this next time coming, and through their awareness, reach back to where you are. And though you have fought with their presence, though you have lingered longer in the state of unawareness than is called for by their estimation, they are now with you, reaching back through time as a consequence of your believing into the state of what you are to lift you forward into their present. So this really gets to that idea of us going backward through time being the thing that helps to keep us separated and helping you to move forward into this higher state of awareness, right? So, yeah. And they joke a little bit here about how that we fought with them, that we haven't always found it easy to move into these higher states, that we have to encounter ourselves, and it's been really challenging. And they say that we've lingered longer by their estimation, so they're teasing us a little bit about how we are always our own worst critic, right? But anyways, they're saying, yeah, that they are able to help reach back through time because they are with us now and help us to move forward. Yeah, super cool. All right, next paragraph. They say they have within them the full template of your next coming. So they know how this happens. They already know the end of the book. So they have the whole story and they know how we're going to do it. They know how you specifically are going to do it. They know what you are through and through, for they are yourself in this next instantiation. The yet to begin. And in this time of lucid reformation, which I love the name lucid reformation, because lucid means two things. Lucid and reformation is like this shift of consciousness. And they call it lucid because, number one, lucid means clear, comprehensible. It means we are aware, that we are aware going through the passage of this, that it has to be a conscious state of change, right? Where we're aware of it consciously. Lucid also means bright, luminescent. So I love that. So it's a bright, luminescent shift that we're going through. All right. And in this time of lucid reformation, there is between you, yes, the bridge of thought, of effort, of aspiration, of grace. So they're saying that you're aligned, that you and your future self are aligned with what you want, right? With your connection to the divine, right? So of your thoughts, of your effort, of your aspirations, and of grace. So that in all the things that matter, right? In the essence of who you are, what you want, of your connection to the divine, you are the same. Right? Limitless, boundaryless, because that's who you are as a soul. Limitless, boundaryless. You may express what you are between states. So you are in this between period. You are being stretched between these two states, right? We are in the in-between states, in the bridge state between, right? Between this now and that, between this haven and that. So in other words, the haven of our current existence and the future haven. So these are both, and by using the word haven, they're implying that we are always protected, that we are always in a state where no harm can ever really come to us because we are eternal souls. And all of these places we've been in, the current earth school that we are in, though it seems like the school of hard knocks, is a haven for our highest good. And the future place we are moving into is also a haven. All right. Next paragraph. There is no such called environment with which you are familiar. This in-between state that we're in, this bridge state that we're currently right now in. They're saying we don't know this. We're not familiar with this. There's no similar environment we've ever been in. They say, and yet it occurs now as you are living. This in-between state into which you are torn asunder. And this really gets to why so many of us are experiencing anxiety and crazy things right now. That they're saying, made to believe you are separated from what was, when in fact this is just an entrance. And the you that was has heralded in the next yourself, which is just beginning. So this is just going on to express this idea of this being in this place of being torn, this in the cell dividing, it's the mitosis state of being stretched between the old state and the new state of being. So we kind of have both the old self and the new self are in there right now, stretching back and forth. You're in the new state, you're in the old state. You're going back and forth, right? All right, thus, in two places at once, you straddle. You stand apart and yet together, one next to another in the same place at once. Bridged between you is the harmony of concurrence. And the more that you align with what is becoming, the less of you remains in this instantiation. So concurrence, another word of the day. Thank you, angels. Concurrence means two things again, which I love how they love to do that. They like to pick words that say a lot, and this one does. Bridge between you is the harmony of concurrence. So concurrence means two or more things happening at the same time. So that is the idea that we are in concurrence, that the current soul and the future soul, or it's the same soul, but expression of soul, the current expression and the future expression are living in the same body. So two things happening at the same time. And it also means agreement, right? It also means consistency. So concurrence is consistency. So those being in the two states, we're trying to get to a space of agreement and consistency. We're trying to move into the state that they are in and to carry all that we are with us and move into the state that they are in. All right, so breach between you is the harmony of concurrence. And the more that you align with what is becoming, the less of you remains in this instantiation. The more of you is merged into that place and sense and feeling of this next becoming. Yeah, right? Super cool. And you're saying, it's you, hello, me, great to accept us. I love it. Nice to meet me. You're saying phrase of the day, lucid reformation, right? I know, I love that one. You're saying this is so amazing. I think so too. I'm glad I had time to sit on this one because it did take some thinking. You're saying this state of confusion, LOL, yeah. You're saying this message definitely requires further contemplation and meditation on it for sure. Yeah, me too. All right. Next paragraph, they say, it is not a place for you to journey. It is not a place you must rise to. So that's, I think, what we were talking about before. They're saying this is not a thing, and I think we think a lot of times that we have to go somewhere. Like you were asking, do we have to drop this body? They're saying no. You don't have to journey there. You don't have to leave the earth and go somewhere else. You don't have to leave your body and go somewhere else. It's all happening here where you are right now, and it's not a place you must rise to in terms of that you don't have to leave the current earth, really. That's what they're trying to say. It is emerging into what is becoming, leaving behind what was. So I think this idea is big. It's not a place you must rise to. They're showing that the transition happens, it doesn't happen vertically with us moving up. It happens horizontally across time. And I think that is a major shift in our thinking, that along the timeline that this new us is already emerging, and the earth itself is shifting. And all we have to do is across this timeline, merge into the new self, which has already embodied the new state. So that, I think, is a really, really different way of looking at it. And they've been telling us all this time, they keep talking to us about our healing, that we need to be focused on our healing, but not because they're not saying that if we don't heal, we don't rise. They're not saying that. And even now, I'm using the right word, rise. They're saying it's not like that. They're saying that the reason for us to focus on our healing right now is because it's such a huge opportunity. There's so many energies here to support us, to lift our vibration, to help us embody the new state, right? And this is part of the natural process working through our timeline. But they're saying as we move forward to continue on with our energy, to keep moving forward, to keep investing in our life. And they said that, I was just talking about that just this morning. It's so funny. How it was back, a year or two ago, where the angels kept saying, keep investing in your life. This is back when they were giving us a lot of hard messages about some of the events that are coming for the earth. And they were saying, know it so that it doesn't catch you flat-footed, and then forget about it and keep investing in your life. And that is that continue putting energy forward, continue living, continue being part of this world. And don't feel like, oh, I'm just going to give up and I'm going to go, put myself away in a shelter and hoard and do whatever it is that we're going to do and prepare for the world to end. They're saying, don't do that. Continue to invest and live your life fully, express yourself fully. And we're moving through a timeline which will naturally guide us as we heal along the way to this future expression of what we are. Yeah, super cool. And you're saying... I'm sorry, here I am. They're saying, I understand, I understand this completely, evidently how I'm picturing it so my brain can grasp it. That's fantastic. And Donna's saying, and by they are waiting, you mean I am waiting. That's right, exactly. The they that is you is waiting. You are waiting, exactly. Follow the wave and keep the mermaid in sight. Yes. Teresa's saying, it's like going from toddler to a 5-year-old just happens, no effort. That's exactly right. Yeah, it is. It is like going as we grow, we are going to naturally grow into this next self. Exactly. And it's funny how they said how we look back and think it took too long. Think about how when you look back and are frustrated with yourself because you feel like you should have had it already, and that's just how we are. But the truth is it's happening it's happening on a natural timeline, and we are growing and expanding into this next self, healing as we go, as we encounter ourselves with the obstacles that we naturally laid out on our path for us to see. Yeah, so that we could see ourselves, express ourselves fully and help others express themselves. And then we connect with the most authentic place. How beautiful is that? It is. Yeah. And I love how you said that. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, they say it is not a place for you to journey. It is not a place you must rise to. It is emerging into what is becoming, leaving behind what was. The bridge between you is firm, is strong. You may straddle and then merge. You may stay here, torn apart, asunder as long as you wish. So they're saying that this process that we're going through is going to be different for every person, and that we can stay in this state of in between for a while, that it's not something you have to solve immediately. They're saying you may stand between you and you. You are able. So somebody may stand in this, if somebody is not sure about their desire to move forward, they could stay here forever, right? That is possible for this lifetime. But they're saying this time period is not forever. This period of moving into this next phase of energy, like the earth is shifting. This is that we have our own timeline, and then the earth has her timeline. And this period where we are supported in our healing in this really intense way is not forever. So to lean forward into the new now welcomes you in. To know that by our perception, you are here already. We see you now as you will be, fully formed and capable. We see what you are achieving. It is not far, dears. Welcome this transition. So I love that. And it's really confirming this has already happened. It's on our timeline. Just, on the timeline, I mean that we're moving through the time of our life, and we will get there, and we just need to continue to move through it, right? Continue to invest in our lives, continue to work on our healing, do all the things that are going to help us. Next paragraph. Know you are bent, blurred in your vision. So here they're talking about like what it feels like to be in this in-between state. What does it feel like to be in this bridge state right now? They say, know you are bent, blurred in your vision. Confusion may rise, a sense of yourself as lost among your thoughts and wishes, a merging, a diverging, a sense of separation, a sense of loss even, though temporary. To know you are in the process of blending from what you were to what you are becoming. That two of you are involved. And so really it helps to think about that picture of when there is cell mitosis and there's a part where the cell stretches, and imagine what that's doing to our brains. like no wonder if you're feeling anxiety, or if you're feeling confusion about what you want, or if old stuff is coming up, or whatever is happening for you, whatever, if you're experiencing, some of you may be having a great time, and that's awesome. But know that this is a period, a process, and we are all at different stages of this. So it could be that you are just stepping into it, or you just finished it, or who knows where we are in the process. But to say, if you are in the bridge state, this is what it feels like. And so if you are experiencing these symptoms, here is an explanation for you, right? That you're in the process of blending from what you were to what you are becoming. That two of you are involved. For these two environments you are projected onto. In this moment, this time, you are forming in between what was and what is. And you are assuming what comes, taking on the formation, what is calling you forward. And it's also a thing that it could stop and start, right? It could be a thing that we stretch a little bit and then we stop and then we stretch a little bit. So I think everybody's going to have a very personal journey. And the key always is to not judge ourselves and to let it be what it is, and just to trust that we're doing it the way we're meant to do, that we have that future self is in us, guiding us through the template for our own ascension, and to trust in that and to just not resist. That's the biggest thing. Don't resist it. Don't feel like you're doing it wrong. Don't feel like it needs to be that. Don't judge yourself based on what somebody else is doing, to trust your own process. That's the key. Really the key is to try as best we can to stay out of judgment of ourselves and other people. And you're saying goes along with that picture of mitosis of the earth. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. That we talked about, I think, a couple weeks ago. Exactly. Okay. And then here we go. Next paragraph. Or no, they continue going on this paragraph. That two of you are involved. For these two environments you are projected onto in this moment, in this time. Oh, no, I read that. You are assuming what comes, taking on the formation, what is calling you forward. Okay. Last paragraph, they say, in this blending time, release yourself from thoughts of harmful separating. So that is that idea that the release the thought that it has to be painful. Release the thought of harmful separating, that idea that this has to be traumatic, that this has to be difficult, that this has to be, that you have to suffer. So release that thought. They're saying release the thought that you must bend yourself somehow to achieve what is coming. So really hold as much as you can the feeling and the thought that this is all guided, that you have you inside of you helping you. In the same way that you would go back and care for and love your 5-year-old self. You have a future self that is here to hold you and love you through this process, which is a difficult process because we are being stretched, right? So to feel that and to not expect it to be tough, to not expect it to be difficult or painful, right? Know that you are capable already, that you are there, that you are waiting, right? I love that. You are waiting. The you that has happened, that this is done already, is waiting for you. It is merely the time it takes for you to acknowledge that this has already happened. And to me, that says a release of our resistance. If we acknowledge this has already happened, then we have no resistance to it. And then we just glide right through, right? Because resistance is a thing. Resistance is our judgment. Resistance comes up in so many different ways. Those are the things. It's us getting out of our own way, right? How cool is that, you guys? Wow. So I told you this is a mind bender. And it also it's simple and yet complex. It's just hard for us to imagine things that we don't see, right? And this idea of different dimensions or different cells, old cells coming back to help new cells, and it's confusing and it's hard to imagine. But it does make a lot of sense, and it's really comforting. If we can just allow ourselves to lean into it, it's really, really comforting. And you're saying, there it is. It's just growing into it. No growing pains. Right, exactly. Blending time, also known as crazy time. Totally. You're saying my newer self didn't like my older self's clothes. I've gotten rid of stuff. Oh, I love that. That's super. You're saying we're already there. That's what keeps me going. Yeah, for sure. And you're saying that's comforting, as I hope it's not like the dark night of the soul, because that was painful. No, I don't think it is like the dark night of the soul. I don't at all. So yeah, it is comforting for sure. You're saying, thank you. You're so welcome. Beautiful concept of stepping into our new selves, just blended. Exactly. Yeah. So cool, you guys. All right, and then just a reminder for those of you who are just joining in now that I am going to put in a link to the event. So I have already up. I just today, as of today, am ready to share with you. I will be in Denver on June 3rd and in New York on September 30th. And those events are up in Eventbrite. I'm actually right after this, I'm going to go in and activate them. And I'll put a link here for you guys. And if you are in those areas, I've got more coming. So I'm going to be doing Denver, Austin, Phoenix, New York, Los Angeles, and Seattle. And then also I'm coming to Australia. I'm just working on that. I'm working on Australia. I don't have that yet, but I've got plans, you guys, big plans. So it's going to be super fun. So anyways, but those two are ready. Denver, New York are listed. And if you are in those areas, I'd love for you to join. So please check it out. All right, you guys have a great, New York here. Woohoo! Awesome. Oh, there would be so fun if you could come. It'd be amazing to have you there. That would be awesome. All right, you guys have a great weekend. Sending you lots of love, and I will see you soon.